Hi, performers and achievers. Welcome to Performers and Achievers Daily with me, Raj Gavurla. In today's episode, I am talking about the importance of upskilling your muscle memory. So let's unpack that. Upskill. What does that mean? Upskill means that you have a skill and you're looking to upskill it a little, just a little. And then muscle memory is exactly that, muscle memory. So it becomes unconscious competence. And so, how do we do that? The way to do that, and one of the best ways, is with visualization. Some people call it mental guided imagery. Those are more words. Therefore, I use the word visualization. However, there's a strategy, a way to do it. And that's where it's very important to do it. And that's why also a lot of times, if you're new to visualization, it's really best to have a coach, and this is what I do for my customers, show you the way to do it and to guide you through it. And then eventually you are able to do it without your coach. And what happens is with my customers is that it's challenging for them to reflect on what has occurred. And the reason is because naturally some of them put a lot of pressure on themselves. And so it's like most things. There's not a instant solution. And I like to sort of make examples using various things that are relevant and relatable to my customers, clients. And so something that they're already really good at, that they already have in their muscle memory. Well, one way is for them to talk about when they didn't already have it in their muscle memory. How did it become or get into their muscle memory? And they think about it, and each one of them is different and unique in their answers. And some of them, actually many of them, aren't really sure how to describe it, put it into words. And so they sometimes can be brief, say something like practice, or they can say, I learned how, or however, here's where it's challenging for them. And that is for them to describe it. Describe. What does practice mean? What does you learned how mean? There's lots of ways, right? Different modalities to practice something. Different modalities, lots of ways to learn how to do something, right? There are so many different strategies. And so This is one of those strategies, visualization. And so in doing visualization, the keys are to first look at your breathing. And when you're in control of your breath, you're more here, now, versus anywhere else. The second part of it is to either use some affirmations, or I like to have them talk about a time when whatever it is that they're visualizing, describe a time when you were successful, you succeeded. Describe that. And so then tell them to look back and think back to their performance. When they look back at their performance or their process or their execution or their strategy, whatever it may be, during that time, since we are upskilling your muscle memory, one of the reasons that we're looking back is to visualize whatever didn't go right, to visualize it doing it right, doing it the right way, or succeeding at it. And there's lots of examples. Could be based on really anything. Could be you're learning a new software program. You're having a meeting that you're preparing for, or you already had that meeting. Or it could be in sports. You somehow, on that one specific play, the outcome wasn't successful. And therefore, you think back into that play, and with me as your coach, I would ask you the right questions based on what you're describing. And if I watch the game or you send me highlights, then I'd be able to ask questions in that regard as well. And so now we're able to take that out of your mind and put it in there the right way. So all that we're doing is that we're acknowledging that, hey, I played good. I usually do play good. However, I'm interested in upskilling. And I would like a way to do that. And I really don't like thinking about the one out of all those successes I had, the one that wasn't so successful, or maybe more than one. And so we go one by one, one by one. And then we look forward, look forward. We're looking forward. We're upskilling. And the next time that happens or something similar, to visualize yourself succeeding. This is looking forward. Let's say your next meeting or your next competition, your next game, your next match. Or the next time you go and work on a program. And then visualize the upskill. In other words, each time out, you should have something you are adding, upskilling, something new, a new skill. So therefore, it's an upskill. And then here's the key. You can visualize it, you can learn it. Well, first you learn it, and then you visualize it. However, all of that looks good, makes sense. Then you realize then it's of no use unless you implement and apply it in real time. In real time. And that is very important. However, in real time. So I had a customer who was a female soccer player. And she was a youth, and I was coaching her. And she was really interested in doing a Maradona during the match. So naturally, she was hesitant, apprehensive about doing it because she has not made it to where it's in her muscle memory unconsciously. And it's already upskilled in her muscle memory. However, the key insight here is that, okay, you want to do a Maradona, or you need to, or you like to, or you're interested in that. Well, then do it during the match when your team's up by 2 or 3 goals. Because if she loses the ball, then she knows that their team's still in the lead. Additionally, she's also aware and knows what to do if she does lose the ball. However, if it's a tie game, tie match, and time is running down, then it's not a good idea. It wouldn't be right. The timing would be off to do a Maradona. And so that insight is how she was able to do a Maradona in real time without the apprehension and thinking that she'll lose the ball. And if she loses the ball, then that doesn't benefit her and her team. And obviously, she doesn't like that. No one likes that. And so this was the method that we used in order for her to not only know how to do it and learn how to do a Maradona, which she had already, like most players, go out on the pitch and do all sorts of things. However, she had never done it in a match. And so that's very important for you to keep in mind. And that's the same thing in, let's say, in your business. You're working on a project or a meeting. There's a time when to add a new skill, to experience it in real time. Right? That's very important. Now, there's an acronym for the visualization that I just mentioned, and that's called the ball visualization. Breathe, affirmations, although there I have added a description. Look back and then look forward. And it's good to have an acronym. I learned this acronym from Brian Kane, and I have adapted it or taken what I had already been doing and implemented it in that way. And so that's very important for you to realize this. And yes, is it challenging to visualize? And when you do visualize and you go out there and didn't quite come to fruition, wasn't successful. And that happens sometimes. However, the key is to realize and to understand, comprehend the progression, the actual breakthroughs that have occurred there. Because, for example, with the soccer player, she would have never do a Maradona during a match. And if you don't know what a Maradona is, I will put a link in the show notes for you all. I know everyone here is not a soccer player or a soccer fan, soccer coach. I'll put that in the show notes. So that's very important. Now, remember, though, the key is, especially when you're starting, is to have someone who's already doing this, like I do with my customers. And if you're my customer or you're looking to be my customer, let me coach, train, show you how to do this. And really, what the real big benefit that I bring to my customers, and some of them tell me they just like it when I do it with them. They it's they just like it better. And the reason is they like it more. And the reason is because I'll ask specific questions or I'll tell them something about what it is that they're learning. And that's the sort of or it is a way to help and support them. And they're not able to do that on their own just because too that's hard for them. It might be very challenging. They have a lot of things going on in their lives, right? And that's why you go to an expert. And so that's what I have for you today. If you like my podcast, like it and comment in the comment section. For those of you who are interested in my private, personal, professional, confidential services and programs, visit my website, rajgavurla.com, fill out the brief form, and we will contact you as soon as we can. And your bonus is now that you at least have the ball strategy for visualization. And although I'm not there to ask you specific questions to make it easier and more beneficial for you to experience sustainable growth, sustainable development, and sustainable evolution, you may want to, like to, try this on your own and do it with something that's not as big of a, that doesn't have as much importance, significance. Now, there's one point here to make that I emphasize is that when I visualize and when I coach my clients to visualize, the only person I control and visualize while I'm visualizing is myself. And so, therefore, that's how I visualize. That's how I visualize with my customers. You're not really able to control or visualize what your teammate is doing or the opponent is doing. However, you are able to visualize and control in your visualization what you're doing. And that's very important. because all you can do is to be able to be congruent to, let's say in soccer, make the play regardless of what your teammate does or your opponent's doing. Right? Because you're not really able to visualize what exactly they'll do. It's just not possible. However, you visualize what you can do and what you do. So that's one insight to keep in mind. So that's your bonus is to do that. Use this elite mental performance strategy. Make it a skill and upskill your muscle memory. Enjoy your day.